Hello everyone, I hope you're having an absolutely fabulous day today. I know I sure am. Hey, I wanted to tell you about something. I did a webinar with Fine Gardening Magazine recently. We talked all about heirloom vegetables that you can grow yourself at home and that do really, really well in Zone 9B and way beyond also. So I really want to talk about that here today. And I'm going to let you know what are the top 10 heirloom vegetables that you should start from seed right now. Wait one second. Some of them are starting from seed right now, and then a few at the end, so wait for it, are seeds that you're going to direct sow out in the ground once the soil warms up enough for you to put your transplants in. So don't forget to wait till we get there. I'm Fionuala, by the way, Zone 9B gardener. I live and work here in gorgeous Petaluma, Northern California. And I just want to say thank you for watching so far. If you love heirloom vegetables, edibles of any kind, gardening of any kind, and you haven't already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. All right, let's jump right in and talk about my favorite heirloom vegetables that you should start from seed right now. First off, what exactly is an heirloom vegetable? That has been puzzling everybody, and there's so much confusion out there. So, what an heirloom vegetable is, or an heirloom anything is, it's an open pollinated vegetable or flower or whatever that will grow true from the seeds that you harvest from that vegetable. Let's just say it's a tomato for simplicity. So if it's an heirloom, it is open pollinated, meaning it is pollinated by natural means, by bees, by flies, by moths, by the wind, by whatever it is that humans haven't intervened with. So I'm going to talk about mortgage lifter tomato today because it's one of my favorites. So your mortgage lifter tomato, your heirloom mortgage lifter tomato, you harvest that tomato, you save those seeds, you plant those seeds, so next year the plant that it gives you is going to give you the same exact fabulous tomato that you know and love. That's what is different between an heirloom and a hybrid. Now, I'm not going to talk about anything being wrong with a hybrid because there's some fabulous hybrids out there. But with a hybrid tomato, no matter how much you love it, you cannot guarantee that saving those seeds, planting those seeds, is going to give you that exact same tomato. So there's a real key difference between heirloom vegetables and hybridized vegetables. Another difference is the heirloom. It has to have been around and loved for more than 50 years. So everything I talk about today has been known and loved for 50 years or more. Some of them go back all the way to the 1700s. Can you believe it? Somebody loved this particular vegetable so much that they preserved it, they saved those seeds, they handed them to their children, to their neighbors, and that exact same pepper or tomato that was loved so far back in time is still known and loved today. It's absolutely amazing. So why grow an heirloom? You're going to grow it for flavor, for biodiversity in the garden, for preserving history and those fabulous stories that go along with those tomatoes or peppers or squash. You're going to grow those vegetables so that you can save those seeds and share them with your friends and your family. But it's also for their resilience. These plants have been around for a really long time in a natural way. They've not been bred for their disease resistance. They've not been bred for storage to go across the country in a refrigerated truck. They are known and loved for their color, the size, the flavor. And over time, because there's been no messing around with their breeding, they've developed, well, they were probably pretty resilient in the first place and very strong plants in the first place. They continue to be so. So you're breeding resilience right there. Not just resilience for the plant. You are becoming independent of having to buy new seeds every single year. You know that that particular tomato or pepper or squash the seeds of that plant are going to be able to be saved and planted again the next year. So it's a win-win all over the place. There's also health benefits to growing these seeds and growing these particular plants. Many of them are higher in nutrient density than a lot of the newer hybrids. Again, when they're being bred for good storage or disease resistant or whatever, some of those nutrients, ability to store nutrients within the fruit, have been lost in some cases. Not all. I mean, there's some fabulous hybrids out there, don't get me wrong, and I do have a couple of favorites, but I just love those heirlooms for so many reasons, including the community and the culture. Now, I'm able to tell you stories today all about these various fabulous peppers and tomatoes and squash and even Swiss chard. There's heirloom Swiss chard. Did you know that? I love the stories. I love the reasons people have preserved them. I love the stories of somebody leaving Italy in the 1800s with this little handful of seeds sewn into their coat, made the journey across the ocean, and they grew those plants here in their brand new country. There's so much going on with that. It's just, it's so heartwarming. It's wonderful. So yeah, this is why I always grow heirlooms. And there are so many popular heirlooms, so many. I tried to narrow mine down to 10. Seriously, I probably could have talked about at least 30. I'm sure I'm going to sneak in a couple more today, but I will really do my best to stick to these 10. Growing heirlooms, no different from growing any other type of vegetable. There's no trick to an heirloom that you wouldn't already know from growing any other type of vegetable plant. Heirloom tomato, grow it the same way as you would any other kind of tomato. Heirloom pepper, same thing. Not too tricky. So there's the rundown on heirloom vegetables and what they are. Let's get to my favorites that you really, right now, third week of February, ought to be starting from seed indoors. And if you hang around a little bit, I'll share with you the rest of them that you can start planting outside as soon, direct sowing, seed direct in the soil, soon as the soil warms up. All right, you're growing an heirloom for the very first time ever. You are going to have to go out and buy seeds. I love botanical interest seeds. They don't carry every single one of the varieties that I'm talking about today, but they do carry a lot. So Botanical Interest is a great company. They do go organic wherever possible. They're really a great company in so many ways. Their culture is great. So that's a seed variety that I carry here at Cottage. But if you've already started your seed saving journey, you can plant those, of course. So let me start with my favorite all-time dark colored beefy sort of tomato. It is my go-to tomato for all sandwiches, burgers, whatever. You need a nice fat slicing tomato. And it's Paul Robeson. Paul Robeson, the story behind that is just a wonderful story. Paul Robeson was an African-American singer and actor back in the 30s. And the 30s was a difficult time here in the United States, but he was incredibly popular over in Russia. And Siberia in particular seemed to love him, and a tomato breeder way back in the 30s named their favorite tomato that he had developed himself after Paul Robeson. So it's a Siberian tomato. Straight away that tells you that it is great in the cold. It's one of those early tomatoes. It can withstand chillier weather. It can also withstand hot weather. And all of that is great. The flavor is absolutely amazing. You can get those seeds at Fedco, Urban Farmer, Baker Creek. Botanical Interest too, I think, does have it. And how do you plant a tomato seed? You directly sow it into soil that you're going to have indoors. We do it in little pots. You can do it in a little 6-pack. You can do it in a tray of soil, and you plant that seed 1/4 of an inch deep. Keep it nice and cozy, water it regularly, and it will germinate for you within 7 to 14 days. Next thing you know, you got these gorgeous little tomato seedlings. Then you're going to wait until the soil outside has warmed up enough. around here, zone 9B, that's generally towards the end of April, right around Mother's Day too sometimes, which is the beginning of May. It's another great time. But you can plant tomatoes here all the way up to June. And Paul Robeson's going to give you amazing tomatoes about 74 days from transplant. All tomatoes really want to be grown in full sun, which means 6 to 8 hours of great sun in good rich soil, regular water. And when I say regular water, I'm going to give you a whole talk about tomatoes a whole other time. Consistency is key. We will talk about that another time because I have a lot more veggies to tell you about. So we'll move on. It's a great choice for cool climates, for our fog here in Petaluma. Sometimes it shortens the sunshine of the day. Paul Robeson is an amazing performer anyway. Okay, this brings me to my favorite eggplant of all time. Now, if you've watched me at all for a while, you know that I love to decorate with vegetables. The vegetable needs to be tasty, needs to be beautiful as well. And that brings me to this fabulous eggplant, Listada de Gandia. It is a gorgeous eggplant from Spain, loved since the mid-1800s, which is super cool if you ask me. That's close to 200 years. Now, what's so special about this particular eggplant? Its gorgeousness. I mean, it is so pretty. Whether it's a white eggplant striped with purple or a purple eggplant striped with white, you get the picture. It is a stripy, gorgeous eggplant. And it is tasty, and the thin skin makes it a really great one to bake with. It makes a fabulous eggplant parmigiana, which is one of my absolute favorite dishes. And it's so easy to grow. Now, the plant doesn't get too big either, so it's a great candidate for container growing if you're stuck with not a ton of space and you want to grow an heirloom vegetable. Listada de Gandia is a great eggplant to try. The seed is tiny. You start that indoors now, plant it about 1/4 of an inch deep, good rich soil, water it regularly, and it will germinate for you 10 to 15 days. Again, plant it outdoors as soon as that soil is warmed up. Okay, another tomato. It's another favorite. Now, this is a younger heirloom, relatively recent, but it is fabulous. It's my desert island cherry tomato. If I was stuck in a desert island and had one cherry tomato to plant, it would be Snow White. What's so great about Snow White? There's a bunch of good things, to be honest. It's small, cherry, pale yellow, which has an advantage if you are plagued by birds in your garden trying to eat your tomatoes. Mice too, like they go for those red ripe tomatoes, and they tend to not notice that these yellow ones are ripe. So that's pretty cool. I live out in the country plagued by every critter imaginable, and they seem to go right past the Snow White, which is really cool. But I just have to tell you, I had this dog years ago, and she had 4 teeth. She was just the funniest, scroungiest, oddest little schnauzer mix possible. And she loved those Snow White tomatoes. She knew when they were ripe. Anytime she went missing, that's where you would find her, up by the Snow White tomato plant, eating the tomatoes. It was the cutest thing. So every year I plant Snow White in Gracie's honor, but also because it tastes so darn good. Same thing, you can find those tomato seeds at Tomato Fest, Annie's Heirloom Seeds, Snake River Seeds. They're findable. It's a big tomato though. You could do it in a container, but it wants to be about 8 feet tall. So we grow it here over an arbor. Nothing cooler than walking through this arbor with tomatoes on either side. It is so much fun. Again, plant it outside as soon as the soil is warmed up. Full sun, regular, consistent water, but don't ever give a tomato too much water. They get watery. They don't taste as good as they do if you're a little bit on the lighter side. Indeterminate, just like Paul Robeson, so you get those tomatoes over a long period of time, not all at once. And you start harvesting 75 days from transplant. It is amazing. So yeah, get them started now. All right, I'm going to tell you about a pepper. This is the shishito pepper. If you've ever had tempura peppers, that's probably the one you've had. It is beloved. It's from Japan, from the 17th or 18th century. Can you believe that? Like this particular pepper, the original shishito pepper, has been preserved since somewhere in the 1600s, and for good reason. It is so tasty when green. It's a nice mild flavor when green. When it gets to the red stage, it's got a kick of heat that, for me, I am not crazy about a lot of hot peppers. It needs to have some sweetness and it needs to not be too hot. I'm Irish. I'm not used to that heat. I love a lot of sweet peppers, but shishito is wonderful. And like padron, you could fry up a whole plate of shishito peppers. Some of them will be mild and suddenly you're going to get a kick of heat. I also like surprises on my plate, so shishito fits the bill there too. Now you can get those seeds at a number of different locations, and little seeds. So right now you're going to plant them 1/4 inch deep in your soil medium. Seed starter mix is great. Good potting soil is also fine. Water it regularly and it's going to germinate fairly quickly right now that the day length has gotten a little bit longer and the temperatures outside have warmed up a little bit more. But again, you start these indoor now, plant them outside once the soil is warmed up, and you're going to start harvesting about 80 days from transplant. And you're going to get to pick peppers for a long time. Now, shishito only grows about 2.5 to 3 feet tall and wide, so it's another great container choice if you're stuck with a smaller amount of space or you're running out of space in your summer garden. You can do it in a container. Another tomato. That is wonderful. I know I'm kind of heavy on the tomatoes, but everybody loves their tomatoes. And I love the story of this one. This is Radiator Charlie's mortgage lifter. You've probably heard of it before and maybe you've heard the story, but just in case you haven't, it is super cool. So this is back in the 30s, the Depression, before the Depression even, I do believe. And Radiator Charlie, his actual name was Marshall, but he was a mechanic, fixed radiators. He was developing tomato varieties in his backyard. And he came up with this one, a big, beefy beefsteak tomato that is so rich and meaty and gorgeous and tasty and big that people would drive from all over to buy a tomato start from him. Now this was back in the 30s and he was charging $1 a tomato start, which when you think about that, almost 100 years ago, that was a lot of money. But again, it's an heirloom tomato, so everybody who bought one of those starts was sure to save the seeds and they could grow those tomatoes themselves going forward. So they were buying futures in this one little $1 tomato start. I just love that story. I think it's so cool. He made enough money to pay off his mortgage, raise his family, and just live happily ever after, basically. So it's another tomato that's indeterminate, meaning it will give tomatoes over a long period of time and not all at once, like some fabulous varieties. Tiny seed, 1/4 inch deep, water regularly. It'll germinate 7 to 14 days after planting, and you want to transplant it outside once the soil is warmed up. Full sun, regular water, but light. Again, I cannot emphasize this enough. Do not overwater your tomatoes. You don't want watery tomatoes. You want that full flavor that is so delicious. Be consistent about it too. And consistent, don't just rely on a drip irrigation. Drips are regular, that's true, but if you're in any kind of a climate where you might get intermittent rain, or suddenly the weather cools down for a few weeks, or suddenly it heats up enormously, your tomato plant takes up water differently depending on the weather. So just keep your eye on the weather, be smart about this, and adjust the drip accordingly, or adjust your watering schedule accordingly. You get really rich, delicious, tasty tomatoes about 85 days from transplant. Okay, one more pepper I really, really love. The story, the taste, the look. Let me tell you what it is. It is a beautiful pepper called fish pepper. Now what's so amazing about it is that it's variegated. And so it's so pretty even before it gives you any fruit. So the leaves are variegated, meaning green and white stripy leaves. But guess what? The peppers are variegated too. And that is just so lovely. You've got green and white striped peppers when they're young, and they mature to yellow, red, and green and white stripes. gorgeous things. You want to harvest them when they're about 3 inches long. Sometimes it's hard to harvest them because you're waiting for they're just so pretty. Anyway, so it's an ornamental pepper only because it's so gorgeous, but it's been grown since the 1870s and was developed in Baltimore, I do believe. Chesapeake Bay, the oyster beds, fish restaurants. African Americans, Caribbean people got together and came up with this pepper to add to the oysters. So they made a great hot sauce, and it is fabulous. When they're green, they're a little bit less spicy, less heat in them, but as they mature, the heat ratchets up. It is a great pepper. There's something about the heat I really like on this one too. There's a kick of sweetness to it. So that's why it's the hot pepper I always grow. And right now is a great time to start it from seed. Look out for it. It's been around for a really long time, so I bet you can find the seeds out there. I think I have it too. And all these plants I'm telling you about, we grow them here at Cottage too. So if you're local, come on in and grab the starts. We don't have them yet because it's still only February, but we will. We've started them all from seed. So there you go. Again, if you've started them from seed yourself, tiny seed, 1/4 inch deep, and it'll germinate 7 to 14 days from planting. As long as you take care of it, don't let them dry out, keep them nice and cozy, and then plant them outside. Now, it's a pepper plant too that doesn't get enormous. Another great candidate for container growing if that's the space that you have. You harvest them when they're about 2 to 3 inches long. That generally happens around 80 days from transplant. And it'll keep going, just like all the tomatoes, all the way till the frost comes. I am departing from tomatoes and peppers for a minute. I'm going to talk about a Swiss chard that's an heirloom. Now, did you know things other than tomatoes and peppers can be heirlooms? Flowers can be heirlooms. Swiss chards can be heirlooms. This one, Ford Hook Giant, is my favorite Swiss chard. Some of the newer hybrids are gorgeous to look at. You know, you got your Oriole with the yellow ribbing, stunning. You got the ruby ones. You got peppermint, which is super cute, the pink ribbing. But the taste of Ford Hook Giant, if you like Swiss chard, this is the one to grow because it is the most Swiss chardy tasting Swiss chard you can possibly grow. Now this you can direct sow outside right now, even in February, even in cold soil. Now because the soil is still kind of cold, it might take a little bit longer to germinate. So you might want to start it indoors for that reason, and also because birds might eat the seedlings before you even notice that they come up. So I generally start mine indoors because of that. Again, living in the country, critters come and go and eat things all along the way. So yeah, Swiss chard, Ford Hook Giant. So what I love about it, it's big. It is very big. You get a lot of volume in just one leaf. And it's very hardy, very resilient, very disease resistant. Doesn't seem to get any of the problems that some of the newer ones might get. It even seems to resist leaf miners, which I'm just saying that anecdotally, but that's a big deal. Anyway, it's so tasty, seems to have extra nutrients in its big leaves, and it is pretty in the garden too. Super white ribbing and veining, dark green foliage, amazing in soups and stews, and incredibly productive. You can grow it as sun or shade. You can plant it now, and you're still going to be harvesting next year. Honestly, it is so productive. You can find the seeds pretty much all over the place. You can find starts here and at other places, and you can harvest those leaves from baby leaf all the way up to full-on heads next year. Really, it's a great plant. I'm going to tell you about one other leafy green that is a fabulous heirloom developed in Australia that you can direct sow right now out in your cold soil or seed it indoors for all the reasons I've talked about before. This is a lettuce. Did you know you could have heirloom lettuces? Yes, you can. There's lots of different varieties to choose from, but I love Australian yellow leaf because it is One of those varieties that you can plant in cool weather, does just fine in the cool weather. It also transitions great to hot weather. It is particularly disease resistant all by itself. It is bolt resistant, heat resistant, yet tastes so good every phase of its existence. The other really great thing about it is it's so bright yellow, it's gorgeous. I like decorating with vegetables. I've told you that before. Makes this really great front of the border decoration. Just makes it hard to pick them because you don't want your little border decoration all ruined. You have to pick every second head of lettuce. Anyway, it is great. You can start picking from baby leaf all the way up to full head. And it's a fabulous, fabulous heirloom variety of vegetable. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a couple more veggies real quick because these are not what you can plant like this week, right now. But what you can do with these guys is you plant them the same time you're transplanting all those other wonderful veggies that you've just started from seed that I've just talked about. You plant these guys outside, direct sow them as soon as the soil is warm enough. We've got glass gem corn. It is so darn stunning. It is so beautiful. The name is so descriptive. There's really nothing more I can say about that one, except it is so gorgeous that it's hard to actually eat it because you have to destroy it. It's terrible, but it's a really great one. Developed by a Cherokee, I believe it was Cherokee corn breeder, collected from various other corns, and this is the result. So stunning. Now, when it was brand new about 5 or 6 years ago, or maybe a little longer ago, it was hard to find the seeds, but easier to find now. Those seeds are a little bigger. You're going to plant them about 1 inch deep, and you want to plant corn in blocks. You want like a row here, 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 and here. In blocks is the way to go because this is wind pollinated. If you do it in a line, some of those kernels are going to get, or the, I can't remember what they're called, those corn things are going to get pollinated, some aren't. But if you put it in blocks, you're really, really upping the odds on that one. Because whatever way the wind is blowing, that pollen's going to go to the next plant. So don't forget that. We can talk about corn a whole other day, but glass gem, you got to grow that. Full sun, regular water, beautiful big plant. Okay, we're on to probably my favorite heirloom vegetable ever. This is Zucchetta rampicante. It is a summer squash, it's a winter squash, it stores amazingly. It is just extraordinary, and I've seen it grown in Italy all over the place, and in fact it's the only summer squash I've ever seen grown in Italy, which is interesting. But guess where else I saw it? I was in New Zealand last week. I saw it growing in Hobbiton. I am still so in love with Hobbiton. I'm so blown away by that beautiful, beautiful place. And they had Zucchetta rampicante growing. So let me tell you what's so special about Zucchetta rampicante. You can guess by the name that it grows in a crazy way. It is rampant. It grows rampantly. It spreads really far. And it gives you squash really quickly that can be harvested from tiny baby stage all the way up to 3 foot long. And it tastes great every step of the way. It is, you'll see the picture. If you leave it growing on the ground, it grows in a really curled shape. So it's also called tromboncino. Has a few different names. You'll find it. I grow starts of it here. And it's just the coolest squash. It takes up so much space in your garden that you might want to consider growing it vertically. But this is another one that you can direct sow outside, same time as you're planting all the transplants of those wonderful tomatoes and peppers I just talked about. And it is so delicious. You will never want to grow another summer squash again. All right, and finally, I have to tell you about Tennessee dancing gourd. It is the cutest gourd you're ever going to see. It is not edible, but the blossoms are edible, so that's why I stuck it in here. The blossoms are edible, but the gourds themselves are just so adorable. It is crazy. Check out the picture. We always grow them here, and the most fun in the fall is giving those little tiny gourds away to the kids. Because why this one has been kept? It's been known and recorded in Tennessee way back in the 1800s. People used to grow them to decorate, to grow as an annual over their fences or an arbor, because it's beautiful apart from anything else. But the kids loved the little gourds, and they would take them to school, and they'd get in trouble for playing during school time when they were supposed to be doing reading, writing, or arithmetic. So I had to include it. Direct sow that outside when you're doing the transplants, just like the other guys. Full sun. These are all summer veggies I'm talking about today, pretty much. Apart from those couple of greens that can take some shade, everybody else really does want to be in full sun. This and the zucchetta rampicant, neither one of those are great container choices, but almost all the rest of them can be done in containers. Snow White might be pushing the limit a bit too, but you know, where there's a will, there's a way. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed hearing all about my favorite heirloom veggies. So come on in and get them at the right time. Once the soil is warmed up, you're going to find these veggies and a whole lot more right here at Cottage. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I love talking about vegetables. I love talking about heirlooms. And I love the idea of preserving the history and preserving the stories. I've been part of some seed saving endeavors that have gone on over the years, pretty much brought back from extinction at least one kind of bean on the way to doing another. And I get such a kick out of the stories, so I love sharing them with you. Drop me a line, drop me a comment if you have any questions at all, or if you have a favorite that you want to tell me about. I really want to hear about it. Okay, everybody, I am going to say goodbye for now, and I'll see you next time. Happy gardening!